Residents fleeing their homes in the aftermath of the recent attack on some communities in Plateau State. Farmlands and houses were destroyed in the process, which has raised questions about the state of security in the nation's Middle Belt region, especially as it concerns the relationship between farmers and herdsmen. In spite of the promise by President Muhammadu Buhari to end the violence, these killings have continued. My guest on this week's episode of the program talks about the disturbing killings on the plateau. Hello there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Gloria Umezuki. From Benue to Adamawa, Kaduna and Zamfara, and now Plateau State. It's been tales of killings resulting from tension between farmers and herdsmen. We'll be talking about what can be done to resolve these killings in our interview. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital?
Unknown gunmen killed 7 policemen in the Galadima area of the Federal Capital Territory. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the force spokesman, Mr. Juma Moshood, explained that the men were killed in the line of duty. Mr. Moshood added that investigation is on to ascertain those behind the attack.
These are police personnel that were attacked and killed by armed robbers and other bandits. And when you now begin to call for ends to SARS, this is a living witness that police personnel die in the process of protecting Nigerians. And it is important, the SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, are the elite force of the Nigerian police force. They are the fighting force that the police is using to cope and to reduce form of robbery and criminality to the BRS in the country. So I hinge my conclusion on the fact that investigation has commenced fully into this incident, and the perpetrator will definitely be arrested and prosecuted.
French President Emmanuel Macron says France is not in the position to fix the problem of terrorism in Africa, but the concern should be on how African countries organize themselves to effectively tackle terrorism on the continent. He was speaking after meeting President Muhammadu Buhari in the State House.
Is an African plan. And France is not the one to solve or fix African situations. I mean, this is a past period. So what we want to do, we intervene and we are still present in Africa and Sahel to fight against terrorism, especially in Mali and in the region. And we will stay as long as it is requested by our friends, and especially Mali, and we discussed yesterday about this issue. But what's important to me is how the African governments in different African countries organize themselves to fight against terrorism and get rid of these people.
Nigerians may soon begin to be able to track government income and expenditure as the Federal Executive Council approves the Financial Transparency Policy Guidelines. The policy document is one of the 3 presented by the Minister of Finance at this week's Federal Executive Council meeting.
With the approval of this memo, it will not be possible for the public to know exactly how much revenue is being collected by government, how much is being spent, just by going on the website of the various ministries, departments and agencies.
Dozens of right activists have staged a peaceful protest to demand a review of the security architecture in the country in order to address the unending cases of killings across the country. Led by the former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, the protesters described the existing security structure as highly compromised, alluding to it as the reason why the killings have not stopped.
No responsible person can say that the government has behaved as if it cares. And let me also add this, because the National Assembly has now woken up to say that the answer to this is state police. And so they are moving post-haste to seek to amend the constitution, they say, to introduce state police. It is fantasy on steroids to think that the answer to our problem is replacing one compromised police with 37 compromised policies. Let me invent that expression.
President Muhammadu Buhari has been speaking about steps his administration is taking to consolidate on the fight against corruption, a key campaign promise of the government. President Buhari spoke after a meeting with President Hage Geingob of Namibia at the presidential villa. On his part, the president of Namibia praises Nigeria's fight against corruption and declared that his country will be eternally grateful to Nigeria for its independence and the huge support through the Technical Aid Corps. Worried by the incessant killings in the northern part of the country, the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria in the 19 northern states and Governor Simon LALONG of Plateau State met with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. Speaking to State House correspondents, Governor LALONG said it is no longer an issue of trading blames, but for all to join forces to fish out the perpetrators of the deadly attacks, which recently claimed over 200 lives. President Muhammadu Buhari has waded into the deadlock of the Federation's Accounts and Allocation Committee after meeting with Governor Abdulaziz Yari of Zamfara State, Governor Abubakar Badaru of Jigawa State, and Governor Abubakar Bagudu of Kebbi State. The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, also attended the meeting. Chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, Governor Yari, told State House correspondents that the meeting was positive.
The President and the Minister of Finance will meet with the I think NNPC official where the problem is, quantum the problems comes from, so that we resolve it and then we move with normal operation of the Federation Account Committee.
President Muhammadu Buhari has signed an executive order on the preservation of suspicious assets in connection with corruption. Performing the ceremony at the presidential villa, President Buhari said that signing the Executive Order 6 is an important milestone in the fight against corruption.
There is also a very strong link between corruption, peace, and security. Unfortunately, corruption is everywhere, at all levels of government and every stratum of our society. It is in consequence of this that I have decided to issue the Executive Order number 6 of 2018 to inter alia restrict dealings in suspicious assets subject to investigation or inquiry bordering on corruption in order to preserve such assets from dissipation and to deprive alleged criminals of the proceeds of their illicit activities.